Hey, welcome everyone, another video, and this time I want to do something a little bit different. We'll see how it goes, maybe the start of a new series. I came across something called UI Daily Design or UI Design Daily, I don't remember right now, and it's basically a website where you can download a lot of different design in a sketch format or even Adobe Photoshop or Figma as well, and it's kind of really good, I guess, if you want to train for CSS, for example, if you want to train your, let's just say, front-end skills. And so what I wanted to do is try it myself. Obviously we're all doing something different when it comes to CSS. There is so many ways of writing CSS, but I think it's kind of interesting to see different method, especially if you're just beginning in that area in front-end development and you're not entirely sure how to do something. Maybe seeing someone that has a bit more experience, even if, well, I do make a lot of mistakes and I do abuse flex a lot, the flex box a lot, but it might be interesting for you to see, especially if you're blocked at some point. So it's kind of one thing that I want to try, and just let me know if you think that's a good idea or if it's not, if you find it interesting or not. We are kind of lucky, in a lucky situation, because my channel has not a lot of subscribers at the moment. I think are 37, so we have the opportunity to try a lot of things, and I mean, we're just having fun really and trying to, be productive and trying to make something that is going to be useful for a lot of people. So we are kind of in a situation where it doesn't matter which series we're going to start, or I'm going to start. Obviously I need to enjoy making it, but let me know is that something that interests you or not, if that's something that I shouldn't continue or not. I actually kind of enjoy sometimes replicating design. I feel like it's, I don't know, kind of almost stress relief, so I don't mind definitely doing it. You will definitely see me abusing Flexbox, like I said. That's obviously something I need to probably fix a bit. But yeah, so that's the first, I would say, iteration of a potential series about just me implementing a few design. So here is just a stats card, and one thing that is quite interesting is I guess that's a common layout, to have a column and a grid. There are different ways of doing it. Some people say that, for example, you can use CSS Grid for the layout instead of using Flexbox. I am quite used to using Flexbox, so I do use Flexbox almost all the time, but there are situations when using CSS Grid is definitely a better solution. So here I basically used CSS Grid, CSS Flexbox instead of CSS Grid. Definitely one thing that I always do when I create a design, when I'm implementing a design, is do the structure first. So really everyone always compare HTML to being the bone of a human body, like the bone of the human body is the structure, and then you want to apply the style, so the hair color, the height, the width, everything that is related to style, like even the clothes. That's the part that you can reference to be CSS. And then you have JavaScript for every interaction, your movement, and yeah, that's JavaScript that is kind of taking care of that. For those design that you see on Design Daily, you don't exactly have any interaction. It's just design on sketch without interaction, so there is no JavaScript involved. there's not even the mobile version involved, and that's something that really is important in design, because when you are considering the structure, you also need to consider in mind how it will look like on mobile. One of element that people always mention is to think about the mobile first, and that's actually a good approach. If you have a design, you need to think about both. I'm not sure you should really think about mobile first, but you should definitely think about both things in the same time, because if you don't, you might end up with a different structure. It's really easy, for example, with Flexbox, to design it in a way where you will minimize how you change the CSS and how easy it will be between the mobile version and desktop version. If you are doing it correctly, sometimes the difference between the desktop and the mobile version in CSS, it's just flex, direction, colon instead of row, and you will change the width to, I don't know, 50% to 100%, and that's gonna be it. So you just have two lines of difference between the mobile version and the desktop version. So you should definitely think about both versions when you start thinking about the structure. So like I mentioned, the first thing that I'm doing is the structure. So HTML, and then once I'm done with the HTML, I'm just implementing the CSS. For the HTML, sometimes I'm not using the proper elements. It's kind of important to use the proper elements if you're using a blog. If you're creating a blog, you might want to use article element, for example. It will tell Google, for example, what exactly you're doing, the fact that it's an article. You got a lot of elements out there. You got elements specific for caption, you got elements specific for dates, for address. So it's kind of important to use the right ones. I don't usually take that into consideration when I start design. So you might see me using div everywhere, even for text, or even at places I should just use a paragraph. But that's something that I would change actually after. Usually I also use something that I'm not actually using here, is Css Reset. So the Css Reset is basically going to reset a lot of style and provide default for every browser. There are a lot of different reset. One reset that is good, I think, is one called Pre-Flight, that is used with Tailwind CSS framework, also, that is opinionated about the default. So it's kind of light as well, but it's really good to have this default CSS included, so you don't actually have to modify for different browser, have some kind of surprises between Firefox and Chrome, have to deal with those kind of issues. So that's definitely one of the difference between me coding right here and actually having coding in, let's just say, a real life situation, professional life situation. Obviously the development environment too is quite different. Here it's really simple, just index.css, index.html, and that's pretty much it. And I will keep it as simple for every iteration of this series, because really you don't need a Webpack server and everything for that kind of work. Just one simple page. I'm just using Parcel actually for that. Parcel is a bundler that is extremely easy to use, provide you with everything that you need to get started quite rapidly. So I'm using it right now, and you can actually see it in action. It doesn't have, let's just say, auto module replacement. It doesn't have auto reloading, so I actually need to reload myself, and doesn't have live reloading as well, so I just need to reload myself manually, which is, I guess, an old school thing to do. But apart from that, Parcel is really a good thing for just this simple task. Just index HTML with a CSS file, and that's it. So I think right now I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing or where I'm going with the design, but one element that I would say when you get design with Sketch that is quite important is checking the line height and the letter spacing. That's the two things that can be missed quite easily, and also the opacity. I mean, you can visually look at a design and see if it doesn't seem to be similar, but the line height, the letter spacing, and the opacity sometimes can be relatively hidden, or it's kind of easy not to see it. The way a designer is going to create the design, it doesn't always think about you that is going to implement actually the design. So the opacity might be in the element, but that will not work really well in CSS, because you just want the opacity to be actually in the color of the text. So definitely something to check if you're having trouble replicating a design. I don't think it's going to be perfect, pixel perfect, this one. One thing that I could say is, you will see probably at the end of the video, one thing that I did is trying to replicate the background. The background is actually kind of complicated because it's two elements, the way it has been designed. One thing that I could have done is creating getting the image, getting the background of an image and just applying the image. I don't think it would have been perfect, or maybe it could have been, but one thing that I just did is take the CSS attributes of the element, and then I remembered one thing that I saw not too long ago. It's called a mixed blend mode, and it's available for, I think, the color of an element and also the background. So for the background, it basically tried to apply a blend mode, the same that if you're using Photoshop and you have two layers, you can blend the different layer in different ways. So it's available also now. I think it's a recent thing. It's available now with CSS. So I try different thing to make it look similar, but that's not exactly what I should do, because you have two different elements, and getting the image would have been better, but the result is not too bad. So one thing also that I need to mention is, during those kind of video, I'm not sure exactly if I should comment about exactly what I'm doing, because I could definitely talk about like I did before, a little bit of my thought process about the general way I'm creating the design, but I feel like it might be a little bit too boring at some point. So one thing that I thought about is, I could just take a topic each week and try to talk about it. So it could be just about CSS framework, JavaScript framework, I don't know, Deno, Rust, TypeScript, different thing, a library that came out. If you have any ideas or any topics that you are interested in me covering, or just talk about, or just want some kind of insight about anything really, just let me know in the comment. That could be also a good idea, and we can just talk really to each other about what we discover. I really feel like the fact that we are not a lot of people on this channel is a good thing at the moment. Obviously I would love one day to have 1,000 subscribers or more, but we can kind of get this opportunity to be just between us, to actually really interact and talk to each other and learn about each other. There's probably a lot of improvement that could be made on this design, for example, not using flex so much when it doesn't make sense. And I will release, by the way, the code on GitHub. I will link it below in the description. And yeah, not sure if I should accept pull request, because I'm not sure it would make sense. But yeah, I think it's probably better if I don't accept pull request actually. But definitely, if you have a better solution, you should not hesitate to put it on GitHub too. Maybe link it in the comment, and we can compare our different solutions. That could be interesting. So I don't exactly have anything else that I kind of want to talk about right now. So just going probably to let you with that. You will probably see the end of the results in maybe 10 minutes or maybe less. Yeah, you kind of see me struggling with the number of child selector. Yeah, so that's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, well, I'm quite impressed. But yeah, thanks a lot. You can definitely like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of those videos, or if you just want to see other types of videos. The next videos is probably going to be on the series about Next.js and Strapi. So that would be it for today. Thank you again. See you next time.